In previous videos, I've dealt with signaling and with signaling theory. I would like to extend this a bit by discussing three pathological forms of signaling. Signaling that aligns very closely with mental illness, mental health disorders, and mental health issues. My name is Sam Vaknin. I'm the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited, a professor of psychology, and your main signaling officer. So there are many, and I can say another many types of signaling, and today we're going to focus on three of them. All three of them are actually pathological. The first one I call existence signaling or existential signaling. When you signal to people that you exist, it's like saying, hey, I'm here, pay me attention, notice me. That is existence signaling. And of course, what immediately comes to mind is social media. Existence signaling has to do with the need to be seen. The need to be seen is a survival strategy. A baby, a newborn, who is not seen ends up dead. So a precondition for survival is being seen, being noticed. When mother pays attention to you, your caregivers notice you. So from the very get-go, from the first few days of life, newborns, babies, infants, toddlers, adolescents, and finally adults, we constantly signal to the world, here we are, pay attention to us, we have needs, we want you to help us, we want you to interact with us, we want to be noticed. Social media is that just a technology platform, an extension, which allows us to do so more efficaciously. It's what I call attention harvesting. And again, it's a primordial, atavistic, foundational drive. It's not something superficial. We're talking about selfies and so on. The selfies are not a superficial phenomenon as far as I'm concerned. They are strong indications that people are feeling that they are being unseen, that they are invisible, that no one is paying attention to them. With the world population fast approaching 8.3 billion people, it's very difficult to stand out, it's very difficult to garner attention, and it's very difficult to secure your psychological needs by interacting with other people. We are gradually atomized, there's no intimacy, relationships have crumbled, institutions are gone. We spend time in a self-sufficient universe powered by technologies which encourage self-containment and discourage intimacy and interpersonal relationships. So existence signaling is a cry for help in such a world. The second type of signaling is virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is very famous, everyone talks about it. Social activists, victimhood movements, and so on, woke movements, the far right, the far left, everyone is virtue signaling. Virtue signaling simply means that you're signaling your virtue, the fact that you are virtuous. You're signaling your self-righteousness. It's a bit sanctimonious. And virtue signaling has multiple goals. Number one, affiliation, the need to feel that you belong somewhere, that you're accepted, that you are in the in-group. Number two, victimhood. Virtue signaling is about competitive victimhood and also about communicating grievances. Virtue signaling is closely aligned with victimhood and grievance-based communication. And virtue signaling is highly narcissistic. It's a form of self-aggrandizement and placing yourself at the center of attention. Think Greta Thunberg. The final form is invulnerability signaling. Invulnerability signaling is very common among young people. They signal to each other, you can't hurt me. I don't need love. I'm not looking for intimacy. You mean nothing to me. There are no emotions involved. I didn't catch emotions. Invulnerability signaling has to do with superiority, imperviousness, immunity, impunity, and resilience, overcoming. And so when you put together existence signaling virtue signaling, and invulnerability signaling, you get the modern landscape of interpersonal relationships and communication. And inevitably, because all three are self-centered, narcissistic, grandiose, this leads to breakdowns in the capacity to maintain and to embark upon relationships. It tears apart not only the social fabric, but the interpersonal fabric, families, couples, relationships with children, and so on. I would like to end this very short video by referring to a recent article. I'm going to analyze it at length later in next month. But right now, I would like just to refer to it. It's an article published in February 2025, and it's titled, enticingly, "I Tweet, Therefore I Am, a systematic review on social media use and disorders of the social brain." The authors are Nancy Yang and Bernard Crespi. It was published in BMC Psychiatry, volume 25. And I want to read to you the abstract, give you a taste of the article, and then we'll analyze it in a future video. The abstract says, with rapid technological advances, social media have become, by the way, an everyday form of human social interactions. For the first time in evolutionary history, people can now interact in virtual spaces where temporal, spatial, and embodied cues are decoupled from one another. What implications do these recent changes have for socio-cognitive phenotypes and mental disorders? We have conducted, say the authors, a systematic review on the relationships between social media use and mental disorders involving the social brain. The main findings indicate evidence of increased social media usage in individuals with psychotic spectrum phenotypes, and especially among individuals with disorders characterized by alterations in the basic self, most notably narcissism, body dysmorphism, and eating disorders. These findings can be understood in the context of a new conceptual model referred to here as delusion amplification by social media, whereby this suite of disorders and symptoms centrally involve forms of mentalistic delusions linked with altered perception and perpetuation of distorted manifestations of the self that are enabled and exacerbated by social media. In particular, an underdeveloped and incoherent sense of self, in conjunction with real-life social isolation that inhibits identify information and facilitates identity information and facilitates virtual social interactions. Let me read this again. The article has a few typos and worse. In particular, an underdeveloped and incoherent sense of self, in conjunction with real-life social isolation that inhibits identity formation and facilitates virtual social interactions, may lead to use of social media to generate and maintain a more or less delusional sense of self-identity. The delusions involved may be mental, as in narcissism and erotomania, or somatic, as in body dysmorphic disorder and eating disorders, encompassing either the entire body or specific body parts. In each case, the virtual nature of social media facilitates the delusionality, because the self is defined and bolstered in this highly mentalistic environment, where real-life exposure of the delusion can be largely avoided. Current evidence also suggests that increased social media usage, via its disembodied and isolative nature, may be associated with psychotic spectrum phenotypes, especially delusionality, by the decoupling of inter- and intracorporeal cues integral to shared reality testing, leading to the blurring of self-other boundaries. As you see, there is very close affinity between this article and what I've been saying for well over 20 years. Problems with reality testing, problems with formation of the self and formation of identity, and so on. And this is why I'm going to analyze this article later in a later video. Thank you for listening.